Assalamu alaikum everyone. So, Brother Dawa here. In this video, we'll be looking into a guy called Harris Sultan. That's basically how he says it. Uh, he has about 47,000 subscribers. He is an ex-Muslim atheist. Most of his videos don't really make sense. He just hates Islam and supports atheism. So, and he sometimes covers politics and stuff like that. So in this video, we'll be looking into the false prophecies of Muhammad, part 1. So before we get started with the refutation of his video, we need to explain and describe the term that we will be using in this video, which are prophecy mainly. What is a prophecy and how can it be falsified? A prophecy is basically any prediction or any statement of a true prophet. In the more layman sense, a prophecy is any statement of the future. A prediction can be a prophecy. But if a prophet or someone who claims to be a true prophet makes an active claim, that is also seen as a prophecy. So, how do we know if the prophecy is true or not? How can we falsify it? So, there are some categories we need to set. So, for a prophecy to be objectively false, or for example, a prediction about the future, for it to be objectively false, it should never be able to come true. Or about the past, same thing. Or about any active statement, such as if I say XYZ will come true and XYZ doesn't come true, and we are 100% sure that it can never come true, then it is objectively a false prophecy. Or I make a statement about the past, XYZ happened, but XYZ doesn't happen, that is also objectively false. Or if I just say XYZ or an XYZ phenomenon is true, then we discover and do a research that XYZ is not true, then that's a false prophecy. I'll try to give some examples of what can be an objectively false prophecy or a prediction in the future. For example, I say that my great granddaughter or great great granddaughter will be a billionaire. But it turns out I don't have a great granddaughter. My lineage dies after my grandson. Or I make an active claim about a natural phenomenon. For example, I say there are a million stars only, and we find out that wait, no, there are more than that. So that's an objectively false active claim, and that will falsify the prophecy or the prophet. Now we'll look into Harris Sultan's video and why he doesn't really do that. Let's go.
As Prophet Muhammad had predicted. But the second part of the same prediction is that slave girls will be giving birth to their masters. Now, we don't have any slavery, but they don't talk about that. They go, yeah, well, he meant something else. He meant that maids, it's not slaves. In this day and age, it would be maid. But did Muhammad not know the difference between a maid and a slave? Sure. Oh, just ignore that. Just ignore that. Wherever they get caught, they say just ignore that. So I'm just going to show you some hadiths where Prophet made some really, really outrageous predictions, and none of them have come true. None of them will ever come true.
So first he starts off by showing a prophecy which indeed did come true, but we will not be focusing on that. And then he says that the other part of the prophecy that didn't come true. Not really, that's not the case, because there are multiple interpretation of it, and the idea of slavery and the concept of slavery and the wording used for it is different from our modern understanding. So the way that scholars have interpreted this hadith is by saying that anyone who is put into an inferior position or is made to do labor without pay or is basically treated like a slave can be seen as that, and it can be interpreted as today the mother are treated by slave by their own son. But this is not an objectively true prophecy because it's vague, so I'll agree with that, but it doesn't falsify the prophecy as well. Okay, first of all, slavery is still there in this world, and it can in the future become common once again. I hope it doesn't, but there is a possibility, and if there is a possibility, then this prophecy could come true. So it doesn't falsify it, as you can see.
So let's start with the first one. The hour will not be established till the buttocks of the women of the tribe of those move while going round and round Dil Khalasa. Dil Khalasa was the idol of Daus tribe, which they used to worship in the pre-Islamic period of Arab ignorance. So the buttocks, who could have thought?
Okay, so the argument that he's basically making at this point shows that he doesn't really understand how a prophecy is falsified. So he's basically saying that because the tribe doesn't exist and the God that they worship doesn't exist, and Prophet Muhammad said that it will be in the last hour, hence it's falsified. Well, you see, the idea of the last hour in Islamic theology is basically can be the last period of human civilization or of Earth. So it doesn't necessarily need to mean that it's in just a few hours or a few years. It can be centuries or a longer period. So he doesn't really understand that. And the point and the fact is that, first of all, this could have already happened. Something like this could have already happened. Hence, prophecy could have been fulfilled. We don't know it. Or it could be the case that people start worshipping the same idol, hence fulfilling the prophecy in the future, just like people in the West have started worshipping the old Greek gods.
An eclipse during the time of the Messenger of Allah. He stood in great anxiety, fearing that it might be the doomsday, till he came to the mosque. He stood up to pray with prolonged qiyam, ruku, and prostration, which I never saw him doing in the prayer. And then he said, "These are the signs which Allah sends, not on account of the death of anyone or life of anyone, but Allah sends them to frighten thereby his servants." So Allah sends these signs to frighten people about doomsday. That's what Prophet Muhammad is saying. Prophet Muhammad didn't know that we can actually predict all the lunar and solar eclipses 10,000 years into the future. So
Okay, so firstly, I think he's basically trying to show that he was deluded, or he actually believed that the doomsday was close, or he was not all-knowing. Well, we already believe he was not all-knowing. By which I mean the Prophet himself. The context basically is his son passed away, and people thought that the eclipse was because of the death of the Prophet's son, and he clarified that no, that is not the case, and said that these signs do not happen because of any person or the death of any person, but they are just the sign of God. And he himself underlined that it might be doomsday. So he's not making an active claim that it is doomsday, so it doesn't falsify it objectively. And he doesn't just realize that.
there's another hadith, Sahih Muslim 2539. It says, Abu Sa'id reported that Allah's apostle came back from Tabuk, this battle of Tabuk, asked about the last hour. So he asked Prophet about the last hour, about the judgment day. There would be none amongst the created being livings on the earth who would survive this century. Now he's talking about living things. So it has to be a judgment day, an extinction event. He's specifically talking about the judgment day within 100 years at that time.
No, he's not, Harris. Simply because you think that doesn't mean it's true. So can you prove that all living things didn't die in the 100 years period that he claimed? No, you can't. No one can. So it doesn't falsify it. I don't know why he doesn't realize that. He just sounds dumb. And by referring to other hadiths, we can clarify that he didn't mean that doomsday will be in 100 years, because he has said the hadith such as the reign of Isa and Mahdi will be of 70 years, and he has said before that before that period there will be 30 Dajjals. So how can all this be in just 100 years?
Made in the wall of Gog and Magog like this, making a circle with his thumb and index finger. Zainab bint Jahsh said, "Oh, Allah's messenger, shall we be destroyed even though there are pious person amongst us?" He said, "Yes." When the Muhammad here said that opening has been made in Gog and Magog, and look, fairy tales, does it? Don't you think there's fairy tales written all over it? Do you really don't see that?
Hey, so seriously, that's his refutation. He's basically saying that it sounds absurd, hence it's false. That doesn't follow. We previously thought a lot of things sounded absurd, but, well, they are true, such as black holes, the expansion of our universe, and so on. And we have discovered new tribes that we didn't never knew about. So it is possible that we may discover some more. So it doesn't objectively falsify the prophecy, For Harris to falsify the prophecy, he will need to prove that no such thing as a Gog and Magog tribe can exist in our world, which he hasn't done and no one has done of yet. And in Islamic theology, the concept of Gog and Magog is basically that they are an enclosed tribe, making them even harder to be found.
By Allah, that Ibn Sayyad was the Dajjal. I said to Jabir, how can you swear by Allah? Jabir said, I have heard Umar swearing by Allah regarding this matter in the presence of the Prophet, and the Prophet did not disapprove of it. So basically, Muhammad bin al-Munkadir is telling the story that Jabir bin Abdullah, swearing by Allah, said that Ibn Sayyad was the Dajjal. Ibn Sayyad was some dude. He was the Dajjal. The Dajjal. Dajjal is meant to come just before the Armageddon, just before the Judgment Day. And Prophet Muhammad did not object to it when Umar and this Jabir guy called Ibn Sayyad a Dajjal. So if the Dajjal was running around 1400 years ago, where is the bloody Armageddon? Where's the Judgment Day?
Oh my God. Okay, I'll give you guys a second. Read this Sahih Hadith. Are you guys done? Now tell me yourself, is the prophecy falsified? Or is the statement false? No. Basically, at this point, I didn't take anything Harris said seriously. You guys shouldn't either. He's just showing that he is intellectually dishonest to himself and his audience.
The last hour would come when the Romans would form a majority amongst people. The last hour would come when Romans would form a majority. Where are the Romans? Romans are only in Rome now. There's no Roman Empire left. There's not even a Holy Roman Empire left. Byzantine Empire is long gone as well. There would never be a majority. Italy is never going to be a superpower. The next superpower is going to be China, at least for another, I don't know, maybe 200-300 years, unless something really crazy happens.
Okay, so basically at this point, he's refuting himself. He said, if something crazy happens, China can be a superpower in the next century or a few centuries. Well, if even something crazier happens, the people of Italy, i.e. Rome, can be the superpower or can be the majority. It is not an impossibility. It doesn't falsify the prophecy. Crazy things happen. He's just showing that he is dishonest and doesn't really understand what a false prophecy is or how to falsify a prophecy objectively. If you're a non-Muslim, be honest to yourself. Use the same criteria that I used, or use your own criteria to objectively falsify the prophecies in this video. You'll reach the same conclusion. They are not objectively false. So he has made a few more prophecies which Farid Response has covered in a way better way, so I'll not be looking into that. So as of now, that's all from me. Ma salama. Have a great day.
The Allah, who is Ar-Rahman, Allah, who is Al-Mannan. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad.